So I believe everyone can see a blurry image.
Yeah,
Yep. Perfect.
glad it's not my eyes.
So as you can see here, this is a blurry image. Surgeons experience a similar level of visibility while they're performing surgery, which is quite concerning if you are the patient that's being operated on. At VOPE Medical, we are solving this problem by delivering clear vision in endoscopic surgeries to reduce surgical errors and improve operational efficiency. My name is Amy Lorincz, and I am the CEO and co-founder. 37% of the total time in surgery, the view of the surgical site is obstructed due to contamination such as blood, fat, or fog that appears on the endoscopic camera lens that is used to see a patient's internal organs. With 225 million endoscopic procedures performed annually worldwide, there's a significant need for innovation in the space as we trend towards surgeries that are safer for patients with smaller incisions. This company started by interviewing 27 surgeons to find what difficulties they experience in their surgical practice. And we found that all of them want a less disruptive and a faster way to clean lens contamination. The way that we are solving this problem is through a software approach that uses real-time AI-enhanced surgical view that integrates with any endoscopic optic system that exists on the market. So there's a foggy view that the surgeon will see, and our software uses a computer vision approach to enhance the image that the surgeon sees using AI augmentation. To further demonstrate that, on the left here, we have a contaminated input. This is simulated contamination such as blood or sinus fluid that would occur in a sinus surgery. And on the right, we have the AI-enhanced output. As you can see, our model removes the contamination that you can see on the camera lens using a computer vision and generative AI approach to generating a clearer image. So this is the demo in real time. As the slider goes over, this is our algorithms working to remove that contamination while the surgery is still happening. And you can see that the vision is significantly clearer. And this is for an ear, nose, and throat surgery in the nasal cavity. If we look at laparoscopy surgeries, that's a general surgery, they experience a lot of foggy images or smoke images from cauterization. On the left, it's foggy. On the right, it's much more clear. And this is just based on 350 minutes of data. Our plan is to procure 6,000 minutes of surgical data, and this data set will be proprietary to us and is part of our intellectual property. So the value that we can create with an AI-driven software is to reduce 20% of surgical injuries that are due to the lack of clear vision. And this is also an area of research for us to quantify the cost of this as well throughout our clinical studies and partnerships. For clinicians, we can reduce the time in surgery by about 10 minutes. So this is especially helpful for clinicians who are experience a really high amount of burnout, especially after the COVID pandemic. And then finally, for hospitals, we can reduce operating room costs by about $5 million per hospital on average. Looking at the competitive landscape, we saw a market opportunity for a product that was versatile in enhancing any type of lens contamination, whether it's fog or blood or smoke, and also one that's non-disruptive. So there's no interruption to the surgical workflow, and it integrates seamlessly with any endoscopic system on the market to save time and cost in surgery. This is compared to chemical solutions such as an anti-fog, irrigation solution, but that's not compatible with all types of equipment that's on the market, or creating a completely new optical unit, which is a high barrier for entry for most startup companies. Looking at the market, there is a $3.9 billion endoscopic market in North America. So it's any type of colonoscopy procedure, gynecology, ear, nose, and throat, neurosurgery, any surgery that uses the endoscopic camera lens. But we are targeting laparoscopy in North America first because of the high amount of published literature on the problem, and as well the partnerships that we have been developing with surgeons. To further reinforce that, there is an exit of New Wave Surgical where they reduced the scope removal. So anytime the surgeon has to remove this scope and clean it, from 5.3 times to 4.1 times in one surgery. And they were bought for $100 million. So we think that this is a super exciting space to be in. And there is a need for this and willingness to purchase as well. Our pricing model is based on an edge device and an annual recurring service fee per operating room that is equipped with any optics camera systems for endoscopy. Looking at the revenue projections, we have a first research revenue grant secured with or on track with St. Joseph's Hospital in Hamilton. They approached us to conduct a clinical study as part of a grant that tests out a product to introduce into their ecosystem. And from there, we will expand to other US hospitals, as well as other Canadian hospitals close by as we are in Montreal. The impact of our software is that hospitals can perform about 10% more surgeries on average from time saved. This is especially targeted for private clinics where time is really money, and they want to perform as many surgeries as they possibly can. So these are mostly for private funded hospitals and clinics. In the case of the Canadian healthcare system, where the model is a little bit different, the time savings can assist with clinician burnout, and using a value analysis committee is really how hospitals introduce these types of products into their systems. For a hospital like Cleveland Clinic, the annual the ROI based on investing in our product is quite huge. It's over 1,000%. But if we look at a smaller hospital like the CHUM in Quebec, it's about 100%, which is still good with at least $1 million of savings in OR time. Our distribution strategy is two-phased. The first is to run our software on an off-the-shelf platform that is ISO compliant for being in hospital rooms. The reason for this is because we want to stay autonomous in our development and really prove the product and how it works. The second phase is to integrate with an OEM such as Olympus or Medtronic, because they have, Olympus, for example, has 70% of the market share, and they're developing their own AI platforms, such as the one that you can see on the bottom right. It's called the GI Genius. It has the same hardware specs as the USM 500 on the left, and they're moving towards running softwares like ours in the future that integrate with their systems, and we can really leverage their network. They've already, and their sales team, and they've already been deployed in the hospitals. Looking at our go-to-market milestones, we are raising a 1.7 million pre-seed round, which will help us to conduct a preclinical validation study on retrospective data. And that is the data that I mentioned. We will have a proprietary data set. And then we will be building our go-to-market strategy and also filing our provisional patent. We will be scheduling our FDA Q-Sub meeting in January, where we can continue to refine our regulatory pathway. And that will bring us to our seed round, where we will conduct a clinical validation with prospective data and also register our device as a Class 2 with the FDA and Health Canada. We will also follow a 510K pathway, where we have identified a predicate device, which is the Stryker Clarity System. Looking at our timeline, we've evaluated 2 different strategies for a lean strategy based on less funding, and then also a VC strategy. We really want to accelerate our first-in-human study. And if we leverage a VC strategy, that means that we can commercialize about a year earlier, which is what would give us an advantage in getting into the market earlier. So looking at our fundraising strategy, we are seeking $500K from a VC lead. The rest of the 68% in the round, we are in late stage discussions with multiple organizations in Quebec. And there's this Impulsion PMA matching program, which will match the $750K investment from a VC lead. Our team has over 20 years of experience in the medical device industry, and we're super passionate about solving this problem. The company started from me doing my master's in experimental surgery, and I've also had experience working at a couple medical device companies. And my co-founder, Tim, has had experience in the AI endoscopy software development space. He was referred to VOPE about 5 months ago, and we've made a ton of development since then. He's been a great asset to the team. And he also has experience building medical devices from scratch. We're also supported by our advisory board. We have Dr. Tufik. He's an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. He's been advising us and then facilitating connections to OEMs such as Stryker. We also have Dr. Nabil, who's a general surgeon and developing his own in vivo irrigation system. And for the commercialization strategy of a medical device, we have Geraldine, who is the ex-CEO of Imagia, to assist with developing our product and bringing it to market. And then finally, we have Professor Lang, who is our computer vision expert, assisting us in any tech development. At VOPE Medical, we are delivering premier vision in surgery so that surgeons can focus on what matters. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Well done. Laurie, want to kick us off?
My first question was about competition. It looked like a number of the competition was using different techniques, but was Stryker using the same technique as you're using? It wasn't clear.
It's a hardware-based approach, and it's not the same. It's not the same approach, no.
So I think it would have been good to be a little bit clear on the ones that are direct competitors, how you're different. I think that wasn't clear. Again, I didn't see any financial projections going forward. So again, something that investors would want to see. And you did talk about the
revenue projections.
Yeah.
I had the year 1, 2, and 3, or that.
But not much detail.
Okay.
People are going to want to see sort of the next. You don't need to go into a lot of detail in an initial investor presentation, but you need to have a better sense of what makes up that. What sort of assumptions go into those numbers?
Okay.
And on the raise, again, what are the terms of the raise? Sounds like you got it mostly closed, so it's probably not. But if you're presenting it for new investment, people are going to want to know what the terms of the raise are.
Right.
And I think you answered it, but what regulatory approvals? Is there any other regulatory approvals you need? You talked about a few things, but is that all you need in order to be able to actually sell and have it deployed into hospitals?
Yes, there's also the quality management system as well that we'll be integrating. That's on the timeline, but I didn't go into that during the presentation.
That's the ISO, you mean? That you mentioned?
Yeah, ISO standards 13465, all of the QMS.
And my most fundamental question is, you're not actually cleaning the lens. You're just using AI to predict what's really there. And my question is, would surgeons be happy with that? I'm not seeing what's really there. I'm seeing what AI thinks is there. Is that going to turn people off, or is it something they're going to be comfortable with?
They're all quite excited about it. They're all pretty frustrated with the problem. And when we present it to them, yeah, they seem really excited. So maybe there's some testimonials that I could add there to show that, because going through the master's program, we introduced the idea, and there is a risk, of course, in predicting something that isn't there, but for the most part, yeah, they're excited about the prospect of this.
Okay. Thanks.
And you just to finish that thought, that's the 27 surgeons. You went back around to them with this? Is that-
Yeah, right. This part of the framework is to first find what their problem is, look at the market to see what competitors are doing, and then present the idea
Yeah. And so you
and
did
validate
get
it with
feedback.
them.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Worth saying. I think it's that wasn't clear.
Yeah. Okay.
I did like the 27 surgeons at the beginning. That was an addition. And that they all said the same thing, right? That was the most important thing to them. So that was a nice addition, Amy, as well too. And oh my gosh, the visuals and all of that is so so much clearer. I really yeah.
Totally agree. Compared with
Yeah.
last week, I didn't
Yeah.
get it, and it was like, so okay, that was really good.
I love
Okay.
your little dial thing too. That was
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, that
That's
was
our interactive demo.
yeah, nice addition. That so last time, Laurie, Amy kind of whizzed through that visual, and you know, us investor types, which are slower than a normal, I think most of the time, didn't really get it. So this is very, Clara, you must have seen it too, right? Do you see the difference? You saw it last time too. So yeah, it's not well done. That I'm not sure, and I kind of liked it. It's you showed it like 3 different ways, even, right? So that was good. I wouldn't pull back on that. I think it's you solidly know what you're trying to do fairly early on in your presentation. You caught people's attention. Okay, well done.
Nice. Thanks.
I think the really nice thing about it is nothing changes. The surgeon does everything exact. They don't need to change their methods or anything else. It's just all of a sudden they get a clear image. So as soon as you ask doctor to change anything, it's an uphill battle because they've been doing the same thing the same way for a long time, and they don't like change. So the fact that you can introduce it without any sort of change in methods and procedures is good.
Thanks.
And going a little bit more on what Laurie said about the financial projections, you know, you just had the session with Susan, and my memory, since I've done it with her before, is, you know, you're kind of doing a bottoms up, right, to figure out those financial projections. And that's what Laurie's kind of referring to, right? You know, so, you know, in the first year, we plan to be in, you know, 3 hospitals. Those 3 hospitals will provide this much. Next year, we're going to triple that, 9, you know, whatever, you know, your thinking is, to be able to, it just helps investors know that you're not just going, that's a good number, let's pick that one. You know, it's much more thought through.
It also helps investors, and this will come to Clara as well. In knowing some of the assumptions going in, helps people understand, do the numbers make sense? If you say you're going to make $24 million, well, maybe you will, maybe you won't, I really don't know. But it helps to know, if that means you got to sell to 1 million hospitals in the next 6 months, I know it's not realistic. So we know, and again, in Clara's case, like how many teams you need to sell to, and that tells you whether those financial projections, you know, may or may not make sense, but at least give me a better sense. Again, in Clara's case, if you need to sell to 1,000 teams, that's a lot harder than selling to 100 teams. And just knowing some of those basic numbers that make up the financial projections help investors know whether they are realistic or not. Because just the final numbers, it's hard to tell.
That makes sense. For the way that we did our revenue projections is based on our prospective clients. So it's based on the number of hospitals, the number of ORs that are equipped with minimally invasive surgical equipment, the $14K recurring fee plus the $100K device fee. So maybe clarifying that,
just
because
those 5 lines in the revenue chart would be wonderful.
Yeah.
adding those.
That's all you need to do, right? You don't need to do that much more, but it's just kind of talking through the build with
Yeah, makes sense. We'll add that in.
So a common question that you get right now too is tell me more about your IP position.
Yeah, I did try to add that in the milestones and saying that we'd be filing a provisional patent, and then added the data as our data set is proprietary to us. So that's part of our IP strategy. Right now at this moment, until we secure a machine learning scientist, we're still determining exactly what we'll be protecting in the provisional. So that's something that will be presented over time. But right now it's a proprietary data set. But I could also have an IP slide specifically talking about our plan and then the trajectory toward how we're
It's not the plan going forward, it's backwards as well. So like the existing founders, if they were at sort of educational institutions, those institutions have any, do they have any patent licensing with them or whatever? But again, you should be clear about that. There's no.
We own the IP. Okay.
Yeah, clearly you own the IP to date.
Yeah, okay.
Because a lot of times, as soon as you see university involved in things, you never
Right.
know who owns what.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. We have the IP workshop next week, so we're going to do some more practicing on this. But
Okay.
I just wanted to throw that one out for you as well.
Thanks.
We didn't ask Claire because Claire kind of told us right off, right? So, but the other one, I am a little confused by the competitive slide. I do agree with Laurie on the striker. Like I look at the chart and I go, oh, well, the only one I want to hear more about is striker, really, because the others are a different realm. And then later on, when you talk about Medtronic, I kind of go, well, they look like a competitor too. We didn't talk about that. Right. So, I mean, what you're thinking about them as I assume when you're thinking about them as an acquirer in the future as well. But you also said that, they already have something going, and I'm going, why aren't they on the competitive slide then? Because they're different, or because
they are on the competitor slide, but they develop a chemical solution. So to illustrate, there are a lot of different companies trying a bunch of different things, but all of them are not fully effective. The Striker Clarity System is one of the only imaging products on the market, and it's actually not even being sold anymore. So there aren't too many companies doing what we're doing with the imaging. So that's why there aren't many other options on the competitive slide.
But you talk about the Medtronic Genius.
That's
GI Genius.
Yeah, the GI Genius is the compute box, like the edge device that runs softwares, but they're not developing, to our knowledge, the software that we're developing. They're developing softwares such as ways to track and detect polyps, for example. But it's a different product, but they could run our software on their module through like a license.
Is it an open platform that you can run on, or they need to adopt you and incorporate it in? Is it an open platform, or they need to bring it in?
They would need to adopt our software.
So they essentially then become a channel to market as well as a
exactly
solution.
That's what we're working to.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. I forget there's other endoscopic.
I think clarity on that would be really useful, because if they really are both a partner and a channel to market, that's an important thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Well done though. We try not to do this where I end up, in the same session with you guys. Although I see the value of it too when to listen in again and see it again. So I'm really just standing in for a last minute change, but I'm very happy I did, because it's nice to see the progress for both of you. Congratulations.
Feedback.
Excellent.
Great. Thanks, Amy. I am